Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Good morning, live edition. It's a Friday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. Go check them out. Fine jewelry, watches, and much more. Family owned and operated with the largest selection of natural diamond jewelry. You go in there and browse. Even if you don't buy any jewelry, they'll hook you up with a Spurrier's Gridiron Grill gift card. News and notes before we jump in it. We're going to have JC today. We'll also have Brian Edwards, Vegas Insider, give you all his picks. We'll let him and JC battle it out with their picks.
Brian Edwards.
We got congratulations to Mary Wise. Mary Wise announced her retirement yesterday, and just a phenomenal career. Could never get the big one, but it doesn't matter. One of the greatest to ever do it here, regardless of any sport. And last night, Lady Gators, the elite softball team, or non-elite team, as Buddy likes to call them. They're either number one, number two, or number three in the polls.
Are you still on Buddy about that?
Yeah, everybody is.
Come on. I don't believe it.
They win last night. Run rule. The Ospreys, the Lady Ospreys, 8-0, 3 home runs. Reagan Walsh. I cannot believe I can't remember the new girl. Tim says probably the best pure hitter he's ever had. Plays right field. It'll come to me in a minute.
All right.
And Corby Otis hit a home run. So anyway, they play this weekend in a tournament down in Tampa.
Yeah.
And that's about it. And then the Gators travel to face the number one team in America, the Auburn Tigers, tomorrow.
Ooh.
Hey, see, you're on the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. What's going on?
Titan MRI, your destination for the best MRI you could possibly get. I love
Taylor Shoemaker.
Taylor Shoemaker. Very good. Glad you got that in, QB.
Yeah, it was driving me crazy.
I'm sure. In the 90s, I'm not exactly sure what year it was, but when Mary Wise was hired, she won't remember this. I remember it, though. I gave her the first TV interview she had on campus locally. Of course,
I wish we could pull that footage.
It was the only TV interview because there's only one TV station doing interviews back in those days, and that was TV 20. And I remember talking to Mary, and boy, you talk about a woman that had so much enthusiasm and so much vigor for her job and how exciting. She always seemed to be in a good mood. It really didn't matter. She had a way of, when she was disappointed in her team, still giving an optimistic tone to when you talk to her, and always smiling. And so we congratulate her as she sets off now into retirement. And what a career. That program came so close and was one of the more successful early spring sport. Well, one of the early smaller sports, secondary sports that we had at the University of Florida that was successful. And Mary was great. The volleyball was successful before any other sport, soccer, softball, even women's basketball, which has really never been that successful, although Carol Ross did take them to the Elite Eight, and I was there for that too. But that was a great career, and that's I really felt bad that she didn't get that title. It was so hard, and she came so damn close. But we have to salute her spectacular career, and I hope she has a great retirement.
Facebook Live text message. I'm very tired right now for some reason.
Why are you so tired, QB?
I have no idea. Titan MR text line. Matt says, shout out to Mary Wise, a legend and so interwoven into the fabric of what athletics has been for the past 3 decades.
30 years. 30 years. It was fantastic career.
Yeah. Go ahead, JC. What do you got? I know you got something to show us.
Big night for JC. Just slaying the Hard Rock. Now, I hope I don't put them out of business. Big winners last night in basketball. In the NBA, the Portland Trailblazers, who, by the way, have won something like 10 in a row, had the Cal Santa Barbara Gauchos, Eastern Washington, Ohio State last night. Big win at home against the Maryland Terrapins. And
Didn't they bank in a 3-pointer at the
yeah,
buzzer? Man?
it was fabulous. 73-70 winners.
JC, now,
Rare
if you
Thursday night
want
game.
all these people to follow you and actually do
I
your
really
plays,
think they should.
you have to show them that you lose as well.
Okay, here's a loser for you.
You don't win every night. Let them know that.
Okay,
Jason.
well, here's a loser. I had the night before a 2-bet parlay with California and Stanford out in the ACC. And here's the loser, St. Mary's, those doggone St. Mary's Gales. They lost to the Dons of San Francisco, but I'll take 4 out of 5. So having said that, we've got prop bets. I know we're going to talk with Brian. I guess you want me to wait until that segment to give you all the prop bets I have. The only prop bet that people are going to remember after we go through them all, because I have so many, is that I'm going to take tails on the coin flip, and everybody's going to remember that one. But I've got a bunch of them with the Chiefs and the Eagles, and I think we're looking at a game very similar to 2 years ago where you're going to have two teams going up and down the field. I do believe that, even though the defenses are as high rated as any other in the NFL. I just think when you get to this final game, maybe after a slow start, you're going to see the teams open up. You may see a couple field goals, you may not, but I think touchdowns are going to win this game. Whoever scores the most touchdowns usually wins.
Oh, my gosh.
I think so. Break that out, huh?
I mean, that is breaking news.
So I think the over is the play. At many folks getting 49. 48.5, 49. It may go to 50 by the kickoff.
AU Gator on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, from the Plains, Auburn students have been camping out since Thursday night in anticipation of Saturday's ball game. What's the health status do you have? I would assume Walter Clayton plays. I did see where, I guess it was it Wednesday? Yeah, it was Wednesday night when Auburn just blasted OU by like 30. That game was a 9 o'clock Eastern game, so 8 o'clock there. So it was probably over 10:30. I think it was on Twitter. As soon as the game was over, all the Auburn student section went and got back in line for today's game.
That's great. It's a basketball
meaning they don't go to class, JC.
Well, no, and you know what?
But you can do class on your phone in today's world.
You can, and it's Auburn has turned into a basketball school because of the pathetic nature of their football program and everything else they have there. But I would say basketball is king at Auburn University. And as Charles Barkley would say, the University of Auburn.
University of Auburn. Or
University of
Ole Miss.
Yes, and Alabama University and Florida University. So
that has always just bothered me when those guys, Sunday Night Football,
he does.
John Cornell, quarterback from Alabama University. I'm like, come on, dude. Did you really just say that?
Jalen Hurts on NBC says roll sooner.
Right, which that's fine. But the ones that don't even know the actual name of their school,
that's
blows my mind.
It's
blows
crazy.
my mind.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It blows my mind too.
Andy's question on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melvin Law. Shane, are you surprised Eli was not a first ballot Hall of Fame? No. I guess they went ahead and picked the 5.
I missed that.
Fred Taylor did not make it. I don't understand it. If Fred played for any other team, he would have been in by now. I still, to this day, say Fred Taylor's the best running back I ever saw at Florida. And
better than Emmett, huh?
Yes, in my opinion. Power and speed, bro. Power and speed. He just didn't get as many carries because he shared time.
Well, much different offense too. I mean, poor Emmett played in just a
right. But I just look. Emmett's your all-time leading NFL rusher. I get it. If you put Fred Taylor behind that offensive line, he would have run for more yards than Emmett did, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
No, listen, QB, I'm not arguing. I think you're right. I think Fred Taylor was ridiculous. And the best running back at Florida that, in terms of speed and power, that's absolutely right. He is one of the fastest guys you'll ever see at that size. I mean, my God. And, we had a lot of good ones, a lot of fast running backs at this school. Even before your time, QB, there were a lot of fast running backs, man.
Yeah.
I grew up with Jimmy Dubose, Willie Wilder, and Earl Carr. You talk about some speed. Whoo. And Auburn had Brett Fullwood, Joe Cribbs, and Bo Jackson. And I'll tell you what, those 3 are Florida guys in just a straight-out race from the goal line to the 50 would have run every bit as fast as those Auburn guys. God.
To answer Andy's question, I'm not surprised Eli was not a first-time ballot.
Okay, you know what?
Eli had a tremendous career, won 2 Super Bowls, but he was kind of pedestrian.
but he'll still get in because
He'll get in eventually.
You
Yeah.
cannot be the MVP of the freaking Super Bowl twice and not be remembered in the Hall of Fame. How can you justify that not happening? So he's going to get in at some point when they feel like it. It's probably, first ballot Hall of Famers are the Patrick Mahomeses of the world and the people like that. But Eli will get it. He'll get it.
Text here on Titan MR text line. I don't know who it's from. Says, do you think this is the last season for the women's basketball coach? I think she really tries the best she
Kelly
can.
Ray.
Kelly Ray, look, they scored over 100 points at Arkansas the other day. They made a little run and almost upset Alabama last night. Look, I don't know what you can do here for women's basketball. It's never really worked.
The only time it worked was Carol Ross when I was on TV.
But it wasn't like it was year in and year out, JC.
No, it wasn't. But she got you deep into the tournament a couple times. And so, I mean, I don't know of anything that's happened, anything remotely like that since Carol Ross left. And we're talking about the late 90s here, like 97, 98, Carol Ross. And, they had some great players, but they got to the Elite Eight. I'll never forget it. They played in Purdue. I was there at West Lafayette, Indiana, covering it, and they lost. Old Dominion. But anyway, women's basketball for some reason has been an enigma here at University of Florida. I don't know why it's not been successful.
It's like that at a lot of schools. Let's not just throw our school into it. I mean,
but Florida is, wait a minute, but not all the schools are like Florida when it comes to spring sports and women's sports. Florida is at the top of the spring sport echelon.
Right. What I'm saying though is nobody probably on this program follows women's basketball, but you probably can just throw out the names that dominate it just because it's the same year in and year out.
I mean, it was UConn, but we've had a sprinkle of a couple other schools that have got.
Well, you got South Carolina, UConn, Tennessee in their heyday.
South Carolina had nothing before Staley got there. Absolutely zippo. They were nobody until Staley.
Well, they have 10 McDonald's All-Americans on their roster
because of Dawn Staley.
Right.
That's the only reason. And we don't have a Dawn Staley at Florida. If Dawn Staley had decided to go to Florida because Deuce played for the Gators, what do you think would have happened here, QB?
Because who played for the Gators?
Deuce Staley.
Oh, I don't know if that had anything. I don't think they're related.
Well, it sounded good, but I will tell you this. I think
they're cousins. They're cousins. There you go.
Yeah, dude, I mean, they have the same last name. Come on, Staley.
Well, okay. There's a lot of freaking Jones and Johnsons in the world.
Are you related to Bruce Matthews, the lineman for the?
Yeah, we're related. I'm related to all those linemen that played.
Well, but no, really, Dawn Staley, I did know had some connection to Deuce because, again, where did Deuce play college
I know where
football?
Deuce played college basketball, but I didn't
where
know.
Does Dawn Staley coach college basketball?
So where did she play basketball?
I'm just telling you, that's where
you don't know. Virginia.
I don't know, but I will tell you that she, if Deuce had played for Florida, there might have been a chance she had come here. You never know. I don't know why she went to South Carolina, but she went to South Carolina, and that's why they're the best college women's basketball team. It was Gino Auriemma and UConn, as you know. So I mean, it's just the coach. You got to find that.
There's not many of them though when it comes to women's basketball.
It's like there's only one Nick Saban, QB.
Integration and design specialist for smart home automation and entertainment, affordable local installation service and support. electronicsworld.net. We got Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider give you all your prop picks and picks that win you millions.
Where did you find Brian Edwards?
I've known Brian. He's a Gator. He lives in the Panhandle, but he's at the Super Bowl.
God bless him.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this day in sports before I forget to do it. This day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit. 2021, the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, Florida.
Yes, sir. I remember that game. This team right here.
We're not talking about the game. It was the first time in the history of the Super Bowl that a female was the referee.
Okay.
And she happened to go to my high school, Sarah Thomas from
Pennsylvania. She wasn't the head ref. She was on the field in stripes. Is that right?
There is no head ref.
She wasn't the guy doing this.
She's the first woman that ever ref any college athletic event in football and she was the first to go to the National Football League, and she was the first to do the Super Bowl. She's been on this program before. JC, where the hell have you been?
I don't know how I missed that episode. Well, listen, the Super Bowl was a great game, even though half the stadium saw it. Only half of the stadium was filled because of that ridiculous COVID period of time in our history. But I think that the Chiefs took a good old-fashioned butt kick in there. And if the Eagles are going to beat the Chiefs, it has to be because of what their defense does to the offensive line of Kansas City and make Mahomes uncomfortable, just like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did. And that's really how they won the Super Bowl, the Bucs. It wasn't necessarily because of Tom Brady. It was their defense that won that game.
Yeah. Just got a text here from William. William says, Florida is targeting Ben Elsner from Football Analysis website, the 33rd team for support staff front row office. They're going to hire a bunch of front office people, apparently. I don't know nothing about that stuff.
Wait, hold on.
People are up in arms about hiring.
They don't have enough people over there?
Hiring that linebacker, huh?
They don't have enough people over there?
I don't know if they do or not, JC. Maybe they sent some emails and they're cleaning house and who knows what's going on, right?
That's right. There seems to be a movement right now for cleaning house. I love it, by the way. But QB, I don't know. I thought Napier had like the largest administrative staff in college football when he hired.
It's one of them. They're all way too big, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Way too big.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's true.
All right, JC, you think the Gators win tomorrow at Auburn?
I don't, but I think
either.
the Gators are going to stay in the game. I don't think they're going to get blown off the floor. I think Auburn is just one of those rare teams right now that's doing everything right, but that does not mean they're going to win the national championship. It didn't mean that when Gonzaga beat everybody. It didn't mean that when the Houston Cougars beat everybody. It didn't mean that when the UNLV running Rebels beat everybody. It did not mean that. The only time it meant that was when UConn beat everybody, and that was last year, and they had an NBA team. But this Auburn team is good. They're very good. And I can't deny any of this, but it doesn't mean anything until we get to March, QB. So you know that as well as I do.
Yeah. Baseball cranks up next week.
Well, how about my Missouri pick the other night? Those Missouri Tigers went over there to
it's funny. I turned the TV on, and they were down 14 points with like a minute to go. Did you know that?
No, they were not down 14 with a minute.
I will bet you anything in the world.
They were not. They lost by 4, QB.
They were down 14 with a minute 25. Tennessee missed a front end. They go down, they hit a 3. They get a steal, they hit another 3. That's how it got close.
Well, that would make it 8, and they lost by 3. So
and again, they fouled. I said with a minute 25 left, they were down 14. Okay. I saw it on my TV.
Yeah, okay. Well, they were
facts. The facts don't lie.
Well, the facts also were that they were within that spread until midway through the second half, fell behind, came back, covered, winner, take it to the bank, cash it. And Missouri's a good team. I don't care what you say. I think they're a very good team. And
they're a good team as long as they're making 3-pointers. If they're not, they're going to get blown out.
They're going to get blown out? I don't think anybody's blown out.
If they don't make threes, they will get blown out. But they're shooting really well right now. They're shooting very well.
They are. I think.
AC, do you know who is doing the halftime show?
A guy named Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, I don't know who the hell.
He's a rapper. He's a rapper. He's like the greatest rapper in America or something. Are you going to sit around and watch that for an hour?
No, I don't. Well, it's only, do you know how long an NFL halftime normally is?
10 minutes.
12.
Yeah.
12 minutes.
Right.
But I think they go to 25 for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they got to have a production, dude. They got to have a big deal.
I do not watch it, no.
What do you do during halftime of the Super Bowl since you don't watch it? I don't either, by the way.
Usually I get up, or something.
I get up and do laundry and get the washer put into the dryer and a new load put into the washer. That's a great time to do your laundry, folks, is during the Super Bowl, because a lot of times the Super Bowl is about the most boring game you're going to ever watch. Honest to God, especially if you have two teams that you don't care about. And there have been some real dogs in the Super Bowl, either blowouts or close, non-scoring games that are not that fun to watch unless you love defense. And, 2 years ago, these two teams gave us a great show. It was a great show. And I think that's what we're looking at again this year, because you have so many great players on the field at the same time. These aren't just great teams. These are just great players all over the place. And
again, like I said, and we'll talk to Brian about it, but I still will stand by this, and I said it 4 years ago
Yeah.
that Mahomes is going to break Brady's records.
Yeah, you've been pretty consistent
I
on
mean,
that.
I mean, think about it. He has been a starter for 7 years.
Yeah.
He has been to the AFC
5 times.
Championship 7 times.
I know he's been to the Bowl 5.
This is his fifth Super Bowl.
Right.
I mean,
It's
if he
crazy.
stays healthy, he's
Yeah.
gonna. I mean,
Yeah,
so.
it's staggering how good he is. I got Justin Thomas at 5 under. He's tied for 4th. There you go.
I looked at golf last night. I don't think half my team even showed up.
Well,
Seriously.
Well, did you take Kitayama?
I was going to, but I didn't.
Oh,
I took Taylor Pendrith. I don't think he's in the field. I think I took Morikawa. I don't think he's playing.
Well, my big pick was Nick Taylor. I'm not,
He's playing. He did. I saw him on TV.
but he's not in the top 20, which is the pick I gave everybody that I thought was.
But JC,
yeah,
it's one round.
I know. But this is a guy that won it last year and came in second the year before, and I would have thought he'd continue the hotness on that course. I have to look a little closer. These letters are a little small right now here at this hour.
Here's a text on the Titan Tomorrow text line from James. He says, did you see where Josh Allen won the MVP?
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, well deserved.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I thought they would do it after the Super Bowl because if Barkley goes for 200 or 150 in this game, and
I think he was the NFL Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, and that makes sense. But my God, if he were to be the MVP of the Super Bowl, then how would he not be the MVP of the season? Given the fact that he ran for 2,000 yards, would have broken Dickerson's record, and had everything going for him this year in Philadelphia, he would have been the MVP of the entire NFL. If he went nuts in the Super Bowl QB. That's just the way I think about it. I mean, you can't tell me the Eagles are the Eagles without Barkley. There's no chance. They're not the same team without it.
Somebody on here talking about this. NFL sucks hard to beat the Chiefs and Red. Look, when you're good, you're going to get breaks. And
he hates
if you really watch the games, it goes against them too. I think people, it's no different than when the Patriots were dominating everybody.
That's right. Yeah.
So people hate when teams win. Andy's question, I was aware of this on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, says, looks like Trump is getting involved with the PGA Live talks.
Yeah. Well,
could NIL be next?
They want to get the two tours together, and there was a movement 2 years ago or so, something like that, where the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia and the PGA Tour, because let's face it, the Live is all about the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia. That's all it is. And there was talk that those two entities, PGA Tour and that Sovereign Wealth Fund, were going to get together and make a deal. Nothing's happened yet.
Yeah. Mark says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Charlie Strong's back coaching the Tampa Bay defensive line. I did see that.
Yeah. Well,
there was something on here I wanted to bring up, and I can't remember what it was now.
I saw where Florida was ranked 5th in the SEC in the recruiting, and that
they're 7th.
Well, but
it depends. I guess it depends on what publication. Because we talked about this with Brent Britt yesterday. Yeah. Whatever publication Brent follows, we were 10th, but there were seven SEC teams ahead of us.
There were 7. Okay,
either 6 or 7. I can't remember.
Well, if I could pull it up, and I wish I had this before I mentioned it, but I saw where they were 5th. It was right there behind Alabama, Georgia, Texas, and one other team. And I think
the one I saw had Auburn ahead of us, LSU ahead of us.
Yeah, Auburn was the other one. That's right, Auburn.
Yeah, I think we were the 7th. There were 7 SEC teams in the top 10, and we were the 7th one. But it depends on what publication you look at.
It really does.
How about this text on the Titan Tomorrow text line from George? He says the SEC announced their revenue distribution of $808 million to the 16 universities.
Well, that's going to make Greg Sankey happy. I must say, I listened to Greg Sankey the other day on Feinbaum's show for about all of 10 minutes. I can't listen to him. I feel like I'm at a dissertation at the university in a lecture hall. I feel like he's a lawyer. Well, he is a lawyer. And man, lawyers talk in ways that it just literally puts me asleep. Can we just get to a point in 30 seconds and not drag it out for 5 minutes? I mean, he's done a great job. He's obviously very popular. The league loves him, and all the presidents and the ADs love him. But man, he's hard to listen to. That's just me.
Greg wants to know on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. What do I think about the Lakers trading Dalton Connect? I didn't even know they traded him, Greg. I do not follow the NBA. That is one league that I could care less about. Now, I'll watch the playoffs because I like playoff basketball.
Yeah. But
the regular season, you won't find me watching one bounce of the ball.
Okay, this was by Noah Rahm of the Gainesville Sun. Where does Florida's football recruiting class rank in SEC entering signing day? So that was entering signing day. Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I think Billy did well. I mean,
yeah, he did fine.
I think he did quite well.
But of course, the fans were seventh in the league.
Well, I mean, the fans are the fans, but you're going to either like the coach or you're not going to like the coach. It really doesn't matter sometimes, unless he wins a natty, that you're going to have uniformity in who you like as coach. And Florida's standard should be and is, and hopefully will become again, winning championships. Okay, that's been a long time. It's been 2000. Think about this: 2008 was 16 freaking years ago. Yeah. You were 38.
Yep, 2 years from out of retirement.
I was 34. I know. I was 42. You were 38. No, I was 44. You were 38.
Correct.
So,
yes.
I mean, my gosh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Miapolatin Cafe. Discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapolatin Cafe. 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua, never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. We're going to take a break here in just a second. Right. We'll be joined by Brian Edwards. Don't forget, next Tuesday, we'll have Kevin O'Sullivan talking Gator baseball. They crank up against the Air Force Falcons. Rolling into town.
Air Force has a baseball team.
Do you know who the famous Air Force baseball player is?
Yes, he was the MVP of the freaking major leagues last year and pitches for Pittsburgh.
Okay,
he dates Livy.
Yes,
dates the
Paul Skeens. We're going to take a quick timeout. We come back. JC's so excited to talk podcast. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Cogent Bank, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapolatin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Signs, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Pouncey, and this is my twin brother, Marquise Pouncey, and this is Life After Football.
Let's go. We are the owners of Tropical Distillery, and JF Hayden's is our liqueur brand.
We have 5 different flavors: a mango, a lychee, an espresso, citrus, and key lime pie. We pride ourselves on not only being a Florida-made brand, but also a cocktail solution. With that being said, cheers and go Gators.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Florida Cracker is the brand for original Floridians. Great food and southern hospitality in the center of Universal Brooksville, Florida. FloridaCracker.com. Back to the Titan MR Highline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We're joined by Brian Edwards, Vegas Insider. Also, he's a Gator. He likes the mighty Gators. Brian, welcome to the program. We got JC on here because JC, he thinks he's a Vegas Insider.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Hey, Brian. Good to have you, Brian. Brian, this game, we talk about the wagering and the prop bets. That seems to be something that's so popular with everybody on VSiN, on Sports Grid, on everything that you listen to and watch. And so I based mine off the premise of whether or not I think we're going to have points in this game. So simply this, if I like the Kansas City Chiefs, my favorite prop bet would be Jalen Hurts over 26.5 passing attempts. That seems to be the one prop bet that really is either hit or miss or black and white for me, because when the Eagles have won, he's never thrown for over 26.5 in the playoffs. When the Eagles lose, he's always thrown for over 26.5 in the playoffs. How do you see that one?
Well, I'm not going to get involved with that one. I'm not disagreeing with your premise there at all. The one I like with Jalen is his anytime touchdown prop, which is anywhere from, I've seen it as cheap as -110, but I mean, I would be okay with -120 to -130. He's scored a touchdown in 10 of the last 13 games that he's played in, and it's actually 16 total rushing touchdowns in those 13 games. And one of the 3 games that he did not score a touchdown in was the one he left late first quarter at Washington with a concussion. So that's my favorite prop on Jalen. But again, I'm not disagreeing with your premise there. I also like his rushing yards to go over, which I've seen it anywhere from 36.5 to like 41.5, and I would be okay with it all the way up to 41.5. But if it's 36.5, that's good, because he's had at least 37 in 9 of their last 12 games. Now, I know he only had 16 in the NFC Championship game, but I think he was still dealing with some knee soreness from the Rams game. And, with 2 weeks off, I think he's going to be a more willing runner and healthier. And let's remember, in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, he had 70 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns in that game.
Here's another one for you. On certain books, you can get what is called the octopus. That's 6 points and 2 points, 8 points. Let's go, baby. The octopus. Let's get Jalen on the octopus for what's that, 10-1? So Patrick Mahomes over 30.5 rushing yards, over 6.5 rushing attempts. How do you look at that one?
I would probably go lean over on both of those.
I would too. I think they're going to bring pressure, and he's just going to run. It may not be forced runs, it may be design runs, or it could be both. Either way, you win if this guy. And again, we're thinking about points in this game. And let's talk about that over under 40. I've seen some places where they've gotten to 48.5. They stayed at 48.5. Do you think it'll get to 50 or 51?
Maybe it gets pushed that way, but it got to 49.5 there for a minute, and it's come back down.
Yeah.
And looking at it now, it looks like most books are 48.5. So
that surprises me somewhat.
I know.
I think the public's going to come crashing in on the weekend and push that number. Got to be up to the public hates unders. All right, they're all about overs. So 49.5 would not surprise me. 50 wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. So if you like the over like I do, I think you bet it now.
Because
if it were to get to 49.5, I would recommend buying the half point to 49, because that's the key number on a total being a multiple of 7. I like the over a lot. I mean, I know it was 2 years ago, but 38-35, that total was 51. It went over when Kadarius caught that touchdown with more than 12 minutes left from Mahomes. And I mean, we just saw Philadelphia score 55. We just saw Kansas City have a 32-29 game, which is a familiar final score. Shout out 4-touchdown Fred, should be in the Hall of Fame. Right. And so I like the over. That's my favorite play. And, I'm going to mess around with some props, but my big play is the over. I got 3 units on that. And then the anytime touchdown with Mahomes is a 1-unit play. And then all the other props I'll do would just be like half unit or even smaller.
What about against?
Hang on, JC. I got a
I'm
question
sorry.
for Brian.
Sure.
Brian, a lot of people talk about the prop bet of how long the national anthem is, right?
Right.
Over 2.5 minutes, whatever it is.
Right.
First of all, I want to ask, is there a limit you can bet on that? Because I feel like, let's say JC was a country music singer and he was singing the national anthem. We're buddies. Couldn't I get some inside information from JC on dragging that damn thing out and loading up on the over? I mean, how do they work that?
So I feel like that information gets trickled my way every year. I think they do like a rehearsal of it. Yeah. And I feel like that information gets out and I always get told about it. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to bet a bunch on that. And the next thing you know, it'll be off the board. So I don't know when that rehearsal is, whether it's today or tomorrow, but I feel like that information starts trickling out on Twitter. And then of how much the time was on the rehearsal. And then I feel like it goes away. It goes off the board, but I'm not sure the maximum. I wouldn't think they'd let you bet more than 1,000 on it. That's my guess, but I don't know that answer, Shane.
Who is singing the national anthem, by the way? Anybody know?
I'm not even sure.
Okay. Don't know that either. QB, does Philadelphia play, or rather Kansas City play a lot of cover 2? Is that their defense?
No, they play a lot of man. I'm anxious to see what Spagnuolo, because I think I've said this multiple times watching, and again, I don't break down tape. This is just watching the TV. If you play zone coverage against the Philadelphia Eagles, you give Jalen Hurts fits because he can't read defenses. You play man, he looks at one guy and he can hurt you. Yep. But teams play on man because they want to get the extra guy within the box to stop their running game with Saquon Barkley. Look, Spagnuolo's outstanding.
Oh yeah. Well, the premise of the question was because of Devontae Smith's total of 4.5 receptions. And typically, I think he does well when teams play zone because I think he does a lot of underneath routes and so forth. So I love that prop, Brian. Devontae Smith over 4.5 receptions.
Not against it. I did see, was it yesterday? Yeah, I saw he was limited with a hamstring. I'm not trying to get you concerned about it, but I did see that. So might want to, I don't know, do a little homework on that one.
How about Hollywood Brown over 3.5 receptions?
I'm not against that. Now, I haven't studied his stats here lately.
Dallas Goedert, 4.5 receptions.
Yeah, I like anything Dallas Goedert.
I like anything Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, I'm not against anything Dallas Goedert. That's for sure. I'm not against AJ Brown. I'm not against AJ Brown over 70.5. Now, one bet I did do was a prop fecta, which is basically a parlay with props.
Yeah,
I did. And it pays plus 432. It was Jalen anytime touchdown. Yep. AJ Brown over 70.5 receiving yards, and Saquon over 112.5 rushing yards. Just three.
I want to give y'all
offense there, Brian.
I want to give you boys a little stat that I screenshot the other day. I thought it was somewhat interesting. The Kansas City Chiefs have not allowed a 100-yard rusher in any of their last 18 playoff games dating back to 2019.
I'm under Saquon's longest rush of 35 yards. I'm under that.
Well, they're saying they have not given up a 100-yard rusher.
No, I know. You're not going to get that big breakaway run like he did against Washington.
So it's interesting.
That's why they have so many wins in those 18 games, right?
Yeah. Speaking of that, Brian, I wanted to ask you, because I've been on record for the last 4 or 5 years. We talked about it earlier in the program. I think Mahomes is going to break all of Brady's records because I think he's that good. I mean, awesome. 7 years as a starter. This is his 5th Super Bowl. So kind of adds up, right? If he plays long.
Yep.
You talked about the over, all these prop bets. Do they win the football game?
So I had a 30-1 ticket on the Commanders, to win the Super Bowl. So it's kind of a hedge. I took Philadelphia at plus 200 going into the NFC Championship game, and I took their exacta plus 425 to beat Kansas City. So I've got those tickets alive, but I've completely hedged them by taking away my risk and betting Kansas City on the money line. But I would still actually win a little bit because of the plus odds, but I'm not going to lose. If y'all following me there?
Yeah.
So basically, I don't have like a bet on Kansas City per se. I've just hedged where I'll win a touch if Philly wins, but I won't lose what I risked on those future bets with Philly last week because I've hedged it with Kansas City. But my big bet is the over. But so sorry to dodge your question, Shane. My answer would be, yeah, I think Kansas City, but I don't love it. It's hard to bet against Mahomes, you know.
Yeah, and I mean the if you look at the overall roster, the Eagles they have the better roster. It's not even close.
Correct.
But as JC said the other day, and I'm a big believer in this, the quarterback and the play caller advantage Chiefs.
Yeah.
The defensive coordinator can be a kind of a wash. They're both outstanding, but Spagnuolo's won way more Super Bowls. I just don't see how the Chiefs lose the game unless
They turn it over.
unless Jawan Taylor gets beat off the corner every freaking play and Mahomes is running for his life. I think the Chiefs will win. That's just my 2 cents.
And Shane, when you're in doubt on a pick, but you're very confident that you have both the quarterback and the head coaching advantage, I think you always go with the quarterback and the head coaching advantage.
It's kind of like when you don't know where a putt breaks, just aim at the hole. Same thing.
Brian, let's switch gears quickly and talk a little college basketball. I know you do a lot of college basketball. The Gators are traveling to Auburn tomorrow to face the #1 team in America, and Auburn is damn good. How do you see this game playing out? I don't know if there's a point spread already or if they'll come out tomorrow or what.
Yeah, FanDuel just released one, and they've got Auburn at minus 9.5, and the Gators on the money line. Let me go back to it. Here we go. Let's see.
I'm looking. I don't see the.
It's taking a second to get there. I switched pages, but 9.5 is the number. I made the number 11 without Clayton and 8 with Clayton. And Shane, you tell me that you think Clayton's going to play. That would be my guess, but I don't know for sure. But look, Auburn has won all of their home games, and with the exception of beating Tennessee by only 2 at home, they've won every home game by 16. So that's 9 wins at home by 16 or more. They're 10-0 straight up at home, 7-3 against the spread. Florida on the road this year, 3-2 straight up, 2-3 against the spread. They've been an underdog only twice, losing by 6 at Kentucky and by 20 at Tennessee. I think it's hard to bet the Gators, especially not knowing, if Clayton's going to be 80%, 90%. So it's going to be a pass for me. I don't think I'm going to be betting it, just be rooting for our Gators.
That's what you do. Yeah. I mean,
let me ask you this, sticking with college basketball real quick. You watch a lot of ball. Obviously, Auburn, I think, is the best team in America. Looking at the SEC, who would you put in that upper tier? Obviously, probably Alabama. What other teams with Auburn?
Yeah, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Missouri. Rick Barnes' history in the NCAA tournament is so bad, and we've even seen a few times this year where their offense will just not be there. So it's kind of hard to trust Tennessee. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think they'll be back in the Sweet 16 again, but whether they can, get to the Final Four, I don't know. I've got a 20-1 future ticket on Bama that I bet about 3 minutes after Cliff Amore from Rutgers committed to them, way like late spring or whenever that was, early summer. I also bought an 80-1 ticket on Missouri a few days ago.
Wow.
I think Missouri's very dangerous. And look, if you have an 80-1 ticket, if they get to the Elite Eight, you could start hedging to ensure a profit, maybe even hedge in the Sweet 16. So I think Missouri's very dangerous. And I haven't looked to see what that updated future number is. They played Tennessee tough the other night, but they lost. So I would think it would still be around 70-1. So if you like to take a long shot,
I love that.
I like Missouri. Now I will say this about Bama. And I think Auburn's the most consistent team in the country, but when Alabama's on their A game, if Alabama's on their A game and Auburn's on their A game, I'm not sure if I don't like Bama a little bit better than Auburn.
Get you some of that, QB. Take some of that, QB. Auburn lover. Take some of that, QB.
Auburn lover. I like Bruce Pearl.
Your beloved Tigers and Volunteers. That's who you are.
Yeah.
I got you.
Hey, real quick, Brian, we got a question on Facebook Live brought to you by Melton Law. Says from Andy says, for novice gamblers, would you recommend FanDuel, DraftKings, or another service for an overall experience?
Wow, that's a really good question.
That's a great question. I'm going to go with FanDuel. What do you think, Brian?
I like them both, but I'll say FanDuel as well. Now I wonder what state does he specify what
well,
state
I think
he's in?
Andy lives part of the time in Florida and in Illinois up in Chicago, but
Okay.
JCUs, you don't use those, do you?
Now, the only one available in Florida is Hard Rock. That's the only one that's legal in Florida. But when I travel to Illinois, Arizona, Texas, it's FanDuel. And then sometimes I get with BetMGM because in Mississippi, you go into the Beau Rivage Casino, and BetMGM is the only mobile service you have in Mississippi at the Beau Rivage Casino. It's a funny rule they have in the state of Mississippi where you actually have to be in the casino to use the mobile app. I don't understand that, but that's what they do. But FanDuel, yeah, I like FanDuel.
I was at Beau Rivage a couple nights ago.
Attaboy.
I had
There
a
you
good
go.
night.
Yeah, you had a good night. I tell you what, man, that the only problem I have with that, and the only problem I have with any casino in Mississippi is that they still allow, except at the Palace Casino there on Biloxi Boulevard, they still allow smoking. And I just got back from the Atlantis last week, Brian, in Bahamas, and that place was as clean and good smelling as any casino I've ever been to, and it was packed. So you don't have to be a smoker to accept the fact that you can still gamble. Or if you are a smoker, you can still gamble, just take it outside. And for some reason, at the Beau Rivage, whatever reason, Mississippi is funny that way. They won't ban smoking yet. I think it's coming. There is one casino in Biloxi that's called the Palace. It's across from the Golden Nugget.
I've been there.
Yeah, you can walk in there, and it's not smoking. No smoking. But the Atlantis Casino in the Bahamas, Brian, get down there when you get a chance. It is fabulissimo. And it is zero smoking. Baja Mar, same thing. Zero smoking.
All right, I got a text here for you, Brian. This is from James in Memphis, Tennessee. He says, Brian, would you take the over 6.5 Gators next year? He's referring to football.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Oh, wow. That's a good question. I'd like to see what if we get any late portal additions. I've been disappointed we haven't added to the wide receivers. I mean, you would think wide receivers would be flocking to Lagway's arm talent. And the UCLA kids, all we've gotten wide receiver wise. So I'll say over, but I'm not saying it with a lot of confidence. Obviously, the schedule's brutal.
I think they have one more road game this upcoming season than they had last year in the conference.
Yeah.
They played 4 road games compared to 4 home games last year. So you go into Texas A&M, not easy. But I think Gators will be better. You got the quarterback figured out finally. So
yep. Great. Yeah. Well, Shane, if there's a couple of picks for tomorrow, now I know we don't have lines, but I did a podcast previewing the SEC hoops tomorrow.
Love that.
If Missouri is 5 or fewer to Texas A&M at home, I would like Missouri. They're 15-0 straight up at home.
I love that.
They're 4-0 against the spread as a single-digit home favorite, and they're in bounce back mode, but played pretty good at Tennessee the other night. So I would like that. I would also like Bama if they are 5 or fewer at Arkansas. I know Arkansas has had a couple of nice wins to get into the bubble convo, but Alabama's had all week to prepare. And Ken Palm had Alabama listed as a 4-point favorite. Ken Palm's usually pretty close, so I was thinking if Alabama's 5 or fewer, now they are at Bud Walton at Arkansas tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern. But if Bama's 5 or fewer, I would like that. And the Missouri is the one that really stands out to me.
Brian, what about tonight? St. John's, UConn. That's a big one up there in the East. 3.5. Big game tonight. St. John's has had a great run this year.
Yeah.
UConn is kind of back and forth. You want the 3.5? You're going to lay the 3.5.
I don't know that I'll play it, but I'm going to lean UConn. It looks like Danny Hurley's getting that team going. They've had some, obviously they struggled early, but that's a really nice win at Marquette.
It was
the other night. And, if they can get going here and have a nice February push, they can still get a decent seed because they've got St. John's twice. They've got another one with Marquette. And, they should get a couple easy wins against Seton Hall. At Creighton will be a quad one opportunity.
Good one,
so I'm going to lean UConn, but I don't love it or anything.
Okay.
I agree with you. St. John's having a hell of a year.
Great year.
Yeah, Patino can coach whether you like him or not. The dude can coach.
I will. I
It's
don't
awesome.
like him, but I will pay homage to his coaching, no doubt.
It's just incredible to me what coaches can do to these programs. I mean, it just changes everything. Louisville's having a great year too. I remember how bad they were last year.
Yes, last couple of years. Yeah.
God, they were awful. So things have really changed. It's good stuff, Brian. I love this. I could listen to this literally until lunchtime today with you. So we got to know how we listen to your podcast.
Oh yeah, so I'm on Southeastern 16. It's a YouTube channel. If your listeners want to check it out, I record a podcast every Thursday. It usually goes up Friday. It's just one of many videos. It usually says Edwards and Greason. Jay Greason, Chattanooga Times Free Press columnist, is my co-host. And Southeastern 16, if you want to sign up their YouTube channel. And I'm on Twitter at Vegas B Edwards. I'll be tweeting out the link for it here shortly. Are you on Twitter, JC?
I am, but I've got a weird Twitter handle. But I'll send it to you. It's weird because I got kicked off once.
And I thought Shane told me that about a year ago.
But Brian, they let me back in because I buttoned up my political views back when it was not allowed to talk politics. Now it is. But yes, I do have a Twitter handle. And QB, we're going to put my Twitter handle on there instead of Man with Many Hats. But it's Cornell Jr. 51349. So Cornell Jr. 51349, baby.
51349. Now, Junior, is that spelled out or is it
no, JR. Cornell, like the school, JR 51349. Brian, let's follow each other, and I can get some picks for you. I love VSiN. I love Sports Grid. I listen to this all day. I can't take these ESPN talk shows. I can't Feinbaum. I can't listen to that nonsense. It's the same stuff every day, but you listen to these other shows that give you some insight on what the numbers are looking like. It's all about numbers, folks. It's not about teams. Remember that. And that is how you can make yourself a little money and enjoy this a little bit more than just sitting there and rotting away on your sofa, eating chips and drinking soda pop. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it, Brian. Get on that thing, baby.
Brian, we appreciate you. I know you had to get up early to get on here in that central time zone, but hey, enjoy the Super Bowl. Good luck on all your picks. Real quick, as JC said, you talked about your podcast. Let other people know how they can follow you on Twitter.
Yeah, my handle is at Vegas B Edwards.
At Vegas B Edwards. Got it. All right.
Thanks, Shane.
Brian.
Thanks,
appreciate
JC.
your time, buddy.
All right,
we'll be
Brian.
in touch.
Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one.
That's Brian Edwards joining us on the Titan Market Line, courtesy of Comfort Temp.
You should have that. You should have that segment every week, QB.
Before we wrap up this program,
okay.
Our Super Bowl picks. I am taking the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, as am I. We talked about it Wednesday. I think it's one of those situations for me where until I see somebody do differently, I'm not going to break the trend. I believe in Mahomes. That's the thing. He is, to me, as you have said, probably the best he's ever played. And since he's got so many years left, I don't think he stubs his toe this time. Now, the reason why they lost to Tampa was because of their offensive line, and that could be an issue this game too, because Philadelphia is so strong defensively. But I'll still take my chances with 1-5.
Yeah, I agree. All right, JC, enjoy the game. Buddy. We'll recap it all on Monday, my friend.
You bet. Okay, have a great weekend.
Injuries occur whenever and however, and it's never convenient for sprains, strains, and minor fractures. UF Health Orthocare makes it convenient for you. 7 days a week, including evenings. Walk-ins are welcome. That is UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Have a great weekend, folks. You got the Gator basketball game tomorrow, and then the Super Bowl on Sunday.